Hello and good morning. This is Boles.tv. I'm David Boles, B-O-L-E-S .TV. And I'm delighted to see you today, and I hope you are doing well. Interesting weekend we had over the weekend. The big snowstorm that was supposed to hit us here in the New York City area didn't really happen. There was some snow, but nothing bad, maybe 2 inches. It was gone in half a day. Now, Boston, I know I got hit really hard. And our hearts and thoughts and good things go out to them as they recover from the snow bomb or cyclone bomb or snow cyclone bomb, whatever it was called. It hit, and it affected people. But so far, we're okay here on the East Coast. Over the weekend, we added a few more commands in chat. These are called chat commands, and they are invoked by using an exclamation point followed by a word or a command. And then our bot, our Boles bot, will give you the answer. And we have some commands. Like one of them is exclamation point title, T-I-T-L-E. You type that in chat and you get this response. The title is Symbols, Ruins by Hate, Human Trafficking, and Transactional Sex. Okay, that is the title of today's show, which we're going to talk about how these titles work in just a moment. So the other one that we use a lot is exclamation point, Q-U-O-T-E, quote. There you go, a quote. That we got from the great Howard Stein. Well, the two new commands that we have added over the weekend, which are just for fun, and you can use them at chat at any time. The first one is Discord, D-I-S-C-O-R-D, exclamation point, and then Discord. And that you can click on in chat as a link, and that will take you to our Discord server, our David Boles server, where you can go there and say, hey, and you can have a conversation with us, if you prefer the Discord way of connecting. The other one is purely fun, and if we're in the middle of a hard, deep conversation, please don't play 8-ball. But you can play 8-ball. Play 8-ball during the breaks. So exclamation point, the numeral 8, B-A-L-L. Now you have to ask a question. Where's my 8? There it is. You have to ask a question, so you type exclamation point 8, the numeral 8, B-A-L-L. It's the magic 8-ball from your childhood. Will the Bengals win the Super Bowl? That's my question. Then I hit enter. Here's the response. Boles TV is twitchy right now. Ask again later. Now, if I try to do this again right away, this is what happens. 8-ball. Will I win the game today? Boom. And you get this error message. 8-ball is on cooldown for 41 seconds. So you can't keep asking the magic 8-ball question after question after question, because the magic 8-ball will only answer you every minute or so. So you can see how this can very quickly become out of hand and get annoying. And that's okay, because we are out of hand and annoying here. But if you're going to play 8-ball while I'm in the middle of something, I may not respond to it. But if you want to play 8-ball during the break, go for it. And there are some other things we turned on over the weekend that are games and slots, bargaining, polls, whatever. All that stuff I think is now enabled. So if you're into that, you can type your usual commands and see what happens. Now, in the category of why do I ever even have to know about this, is this. Pam Anderson and Tommy Lee now have, I guess it's a mini-series, I don't know, about their life and their sex tape. Now my question to you is, first of all, who cares? Second of all, why do they have to put this on us? But if you're old enough to have lived through the ridiculousness of Pam and Tommy, you really don't want to repeat it on Hulu or wherever they're showing it. It's debuting February 2nd. And just by talking about it, I'm giving them a free promo. But why? Oh, it's a big caper. They made a sex tape and it was stolen, and this is that story. It's a mystery. It's a criminal investigation. Isn't that what Kim Kardashian said, that her sex tape was stolen as well, and then she made millions and millions of dollars off of it? I don't know why this kind of thing gets promoted in mainstream culture. But it gets to be a little bit disappointing when you're trying to figure it all out. So enough of that. And now, let me put up my thing here, because we have to make it clear what we're talking about and why. So I'm going to type in ASL, American Sign Language, not white power. And then I'm going to pin my own message. I love having the microphone in this position instead of how it is in the picture and coming in this way, and half of the image you're seeing is an arm. But it is right in the way of my keyboard, so that's why I have to look around my microphone and see what I'm typing. And I don't have to look what I'm typing, but sometimes I don't know where the 8 is on my keyboard. So ASL, not white power, is what we're going to talk about now. Now, here's where it gets sort of interesting, I think. On Friday, we did a story about these hand gestures that are being used by far right-wing extremists to indicate white power. And one of them is what we know as the OK symbol, right? And I talked about it on Friday, and Jana talked about it as an ASL user, which I'll get into more in depth next, on Saturday. Now, here's where it gets interesting. On Friday and Saturday, as I was setting the title in Streamlabs for this stream, I was typing something like, we're discussing white power symbols and their meanings in the deaf community and beyond, and set the title. And then the stream is running, and the title is not updated. The title is the title from Thursday, which is, hey, it's a birthday party, which was, and we had a wonderful birthday party. We're getting over 3,300 views on our birthday party that aired last Thursday on YouTube. All of our video on demand is also now on YouTube, closed caption. You can get there very easily if you type in BOLES.live. Click on that in chat. So, because I'm new to all of this streaming stuff, I couldn't figure out how to change the title of our stream while we're live. I figured out how to do it, but it wasn't sticking. Same thing happened on Saturday for Jan. Jan is going to discuss American Sign Language and white power symbols. Change the title changed. She's live. The title of her show is It's a Birthday Party from Thursday. So I'm searching. She's doing her show. I'm searching. Wow, why is this not working? And so I try to change a different thing, change that, update the thing live. I figured out how to do it in Streamlabs. While you're streaming, you can change your categories and your titles. It's not updating. Finally, in a moment of clarity after the show, after I'd sort of calmed down, because it's not a birthday party, it's kind of the opposite of a birthday party, I saw this error that was thrown at me through our Boles brand moderation account that I was on when Janet was on. And I finally saw this error message, and this is actually an error message from Twitch, because we have everything locked down on racial insults and gender miscues and anything that's nasty. We have everything turned up all the way up because we don't want any of that on our stream. Well, Streamlabs said, hey, we updated your title. And I guess what happens is Twitch said, not so fast. We're not changing to that title. But Streamlabs doesn't get that error back from Twitch saying, hey, we couldn't change your title because of this. So looking at this, it appears Boles TV changed the title to Boles TV with Janet discussing white power symbols in ASL and remembering Dwayne King. And Dwayne King is the guy who founded Deaf Missions. He is the guy who translated the entire Bible into American Sign Language video-wise so everybody can look at it. It's really just terrific. But you can tell by this highlighted red part that the Twitch moderation scheme that we have employed was catching the phrase white power. And that is considered hate or about race, ethnicity, or religion, and they will not allow that to be changed, which I find very fascinating. So once I figured that out, I was able to change the title to Janet discussing hate symbols that have been co-opted from American Sign Language, something like that. And that title took. Just like today's title. I'll type in our command. Symbols ruined by hate. Okay, that's what and that was accepted. So I didn't know. So I was censoring myself. I was censoring my own stream without realizing it. Which is sort of funny, but probably a little bit more sad. More sad than funny. So as you know, if you are a fan of this live stream, sometimes we play chess with Chessable. This is their website, chessable.com. I buy a lot of learning things from them. It's interactive teaching. It's not books. It's all online, all electronic. And they teach you how to play chess. You move this, you move that. The chess trainer. You've seen it. We don't watch the videos in this stream. It's once in a while we've played some of the test games so you can see what it looks like. The test scenarios. And every once in a while, Chessable will send us an email selling their newest product, giving us an update on the company. They're an international company, very well regarded, super successful. So I expect a lot out of them because of who and what they are. And I've had an issue with them in the past about using gender terms in their videos. And I've talked about this in their live chat, where they have these GMs who are mainly male talking about their opponent, in theory, using he. He does this, he does that. Why make it gender specific? Why are you assuming that your opponent is always male? Why not say my opponent? Or the person playing black? Or the person moving the white position? And a lot of young female women in their chat group, online conversation board, supported me. And it was early on a Saturday. And then all of a sudden, all the trolls woke up who were on Chessable, and they were all male, and they were all cocky, and said, oh, you're upset about gender, but what about calling the black pieces black? They're not blacks. Why don't you change them to blue? Because you're making it black and white. The white always moves first. That's discrimination. People miss the point on purpose just because they're jerks. And then we got a conversation about what is a WGM versus a GM. A WGM is a women's grandmaster and a GM is a grandmaster. And I asked the question, what is the difference? And the difference is that there is, I guess, a lesser standard for WGM that was put in place several years ago. And now it's being, I guess, not used as much, because there are some WGMs, because if you were a woman, that's all you could get was a WGM title. You could not get the GM title. But there are now women today who have reached the GM title and are given the GM title by FIDE, which is good, which is the way it's supposed to be. So the Chessable conversation about, using gender neutrality in the videos didn't go over well. And Chessable says they try it, but, what are you going to do? Well, how's Chessable going to tell a GM don't use the pronoun he? Because all they play against really are men. They don't play against a lot of women. In the big games, you still have the women's division and you have the men's division. Well, when you're selling a Chessable teaching system, you don't want to lop off half of the available people who are going to buy your thing, the women. Just include them. Or say, go between man, woman. My female opponent did this, blah, 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 blah. Or just use they, or my opponent. It's not that hard. So anyway, I get this email, and I get 2 or 3 a week, and they're always informative, and I usually buy their courses. And you scroll down to the very bottom of the promotional email from Chessable, and they have the author who's sending you the information, and they have their photograph. And most of the photographs are just face looking appropriate. Well, over the weekend, this one showed up. Right when we were talking about white power symbols. And this is Jabe, who is a worker, well-regarded person at Chessable. And is he saying okay, or is he saying white power? Well, of course, you look at it, you think he's saying okay. But since I have been researching this and working on this, I emailed Chessable over the weekend and said, hey, there are people who are going to misunderstand, either on purpose or through deceit, what Jabe is saying. And the issue is not what I think, because I know better, knowing Jabe a little bit from his emails and from his work online, that he's not flashing a white power symbol. However, the problem is not with me. The problem is with the people who want that to be a white power symbol. And who will then claim Jabe as part of their kin, online or in person. Ah, Jabe, he's with us. He's in our movement. That is the issue. Well, when I emailed Chessable, they emailed back this morning very kindly and said, oh no, Jabe is one of the greatest guys ever. He's not flashing a white power symbol. The link you sent us to the ADL isn't really appropriate because we don't believe in bigotry or all these, things that Chessable doesn't believe in, which is very woke and very fine. Okay. But they didn't say they were going to change it, and they didn't say they were going to talk to Jabe about it, which was my whole intent, because I know that if Jabe knew that could be misinterpreted, that symbol, he would change it. That's the answer you want to hear from people. Oh, we didn't know that all of this junk was going on with Herbie the Husker and 4chan and white power. We didn't know. Now we know. The context has changed, and we didn't realize it, and thank you so much, and we're going to fix it. They didn't do that. They got a little defensive. So we went back and forth, and they were throwing the ADL link back at me, saying, oh, it doesn't necessarily mean white power because it's used in sign language and other... All that's true. But in sign language, and that's why I have this thing up here, ASL, not white power, because I'm going to make some of these signs to explain it to you, and I'm not talking about white power. In ASL, as Jenna explained on her stream on Saturday, this can mean okay, and she uses that over the years as okay in class with her hearing students. Okay. Now, because of this whole thing, this white power thing, she does this. Okay, got it. Good for you. However, in ASL, this is the number 9. And this is F. in the alphabet. It's a hand shape. Now, in American Sign Language, because of this issue, you cannot get rid of this. At least not very easily. And there are people who say the white power, this is the W in white, and this is, I guess, the P. This and down. I think it's ridiculous, but if you go to the ADL website, they spell it out for you. That's the WP. But it really means 9 in American Sign Language and F in American Sign Language. And there have been deaf people, I remember in Los Angeles, who were in a car having a conversation, and they're talking in sign. And they were shot at by people on the street with a gun. And later it was discovered, why were you shooting at these deaf people having a conversation in their car? And the shooter said they were flashing gang signs. Okay, so that's how easily sign language gestures can be misinterpreted, intentionally or not intentionally, by people who are looking to see something in what you're saying. They want to read in meaning into your gestures or your hand movements that are not probably necessarily there. And if we go back 2,000 years to the swastika, right? The Nazi insignia, the thing. 2,000 years. That was a holy symbol in Sanskrit. Centuries and centuries of reverence for that symbol. And the marketing genius, the branding genius, you have to admit, of Adolf Hitler and his team was, let's take something beloved and beautiful and well-known, and maybe we'll spin it a little bit on its side, and we'll have the swastika from Sanskrit be our new logo for our death movement called the Rise of the Third Reich. So the issue is, if you are deaf, and you don't have to say okay anymore, you can say okay, right? But you can't not say 9, and you can't use F. But Jabe at Chessable can choose not to do that. Jabe at Chessable can say, oh, now that I understand there's new context and there's new meaning to this okay sign that I think I'm lovely and happily giving in my emails, I understand how that has been now co-opted by the far right wing and now means something completely different than what I intend. And regular people like me, Jabe, and Mr. David Boles and Janice Sweeney, his beautiful wife of 33 years, they know better that I'm not flashing a white power sign. But that makes me vulnerable to the far right, who will co-opt me in some way, large or small, saying, that Jabe, oh, he's one of us. See, he's flashing the white power sign. And maybe you're not convinced. I mean, we talked about this on Friday, and Janet talked about it all day on Saturday, so let's keep going. So here, if you do a search for white power OK sign in the Google, here we go. OK hand gesture, Anti-Defamation League ADL. This is what Chessable was throwing back at me that I threw at them first. And here's the hand gesture. OK hand gesture, white power. There's the WP, okay? And you can read this yourself. I put this in chat before I'll put it in again. ADL and OK sign. All right, now let's go back to our Google search. And you can see that Herbie Husker is having big trouble because Herbie Husker, the mascot for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, used to go like this. And the university changed it to go like this. No, like this. Number 1. We're number 1. We used to be okay, now we're number 1. I think they changed it in 2017, which is how long this has been going on and catching fire. So they did the right thing. I congratulate the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And here we go. When the OK sign is no longer okay, from the New York Times. How did the OK sign become a symbol of white supremacy, from the Independent in the UK. The OK gesture is now listed as a symbol of hate. Wikipedia even has a whole history of how the OK gesture has changed from being a wonderful Buddhist meaning to something that is now very ugly. Is that an OK sign? A white power symbol? What's going on? Why is no one helping me? A Jeopardy winner has been slammed for using the white power hand gesture. It's all there if you want to look at it, if you care enough to find out. And I mentioned this during Jana's conversation on Saturday. I said when Brett Kavanaugh was being confirmed in front of the Senate for his seat on the Supreme Court of the United States, there was this woman sitting behind him. And now we know her name is Zena Bash, throwing the white power OK symbol on her elbow. Through his entire testimony, she's sitting there, smirking, doing this white power symbol. Now, Jade from Chasuble is not doing this with the intention of being a nasty person. He's doing it because he thinks it means okay, and for a while it did. And now it's changed. Zena Bash knows better. She knows exactly what she's doing. She knows she's not saying okay, because that's not how you do the okay sign. That's how you flash the white power symbol. Whoops. So let's just watch this with the sound off and see what you think. Is she intentionally flashing the white power symbol behind Brett Kavanaugh? Is she trying to send a subliminal, not so subliminal, message to far-right conservatives that Brett Kavanaugh is okay? He's one of them? Or is she saying she's one of them and she's close to Brett Kavanaugh? You tell me. I find it absolutely disgusting. And this guy's on the Supreme Court with those kind of people supporting him. Nasty, hateful people. Stealing symbols and stealing signs and gestures to try to make themselves feel better in the world around them. It just is absolutely outrageous. And the outrage even continues. This is from the Hollywood Reporter, and we're not going to look at the whole article. But this is a fascinating story of a Jeopardy contestant who flashes the white power sign. And he said, "Oh, no, I didn't mean that." Wink, wink, wink. Oh, sure you did. A group of 467 purported former participants of the show posted an open letter on Medium on Wednesday accusing the syndicated game show's producers of failing to catch what they allege is a white power hand gesture. On Tuesday, when Kelly Donahue was introduced as having won 3 games, he held his thumb and forefinger together with his other 3 fingers extended and palm facing inward, and he tapped his chest. Here's what it looks like, and this is the tweet. Oh, that's not the tweet. This is the tweet. Whoops, don't want that to play. And here's the tweet. America is a racist country while this guy flashes the white power symbol on Jeopardy. Right there. What do you think? Is he adjusting his tie? Is he celebrating 3 wins? Or is he flashing the white power symbol? As was done behind Brett Kavanaugh at his SCOTUS confirmation. And he denied it, of course. But this is the world in which we live. This is the disappointing world in which we spin, where a necessary hand gesture, hand shape needed for communication can be corrupted and ruined by people who think they're having a good time, people who want to cause trouble. So know the difference, please, between a hand shape that is intentional and a hand shape that is also intentional for all the wrong reasons. You'll be better for it. And now it's time to take a very brief blood pressure break. We will be back momentarily. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, B-O-L-E-S.tv, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. And now, in case you, haven't heard, we now have video on demand on our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is officially Boles Blues, but to make it much easier on you, you can just type BOLES.LIVE. Boom, you're right there. You can take a look at everything we've done so far in our live stream. And it's captioned by YouTube. The captioning you're seeing here is through a plugin that we use on Twitch, because Twitch does not allow live captioning of content. For some reason, I don't know why. Now, you may remember a couple of weeks ago, I became a member of the Library of Congress. I support the work they do. I think it's wonderful. Made a small donation. And this week, they sent me this. I guess it's a little membership card, which I sort of love. That I'm a friend of the Library of Congress of the United States de America. I don't know why this isn't. This should be focusing, but it's not focusing. So what this says is that if I use this card, and you know, it's like a, what do you call it, business card. It's okay, but come on now. I expect a little more from the Library of Congress than a business card, but I'm a friend of the library. And they say if I use this card, I get 10% off if I buy something from their shop, online or in person. Now this is a membership card. This is my Drummers Guild card. Better. A little bit shiny. Now I think everything on this should have been, 10 times as big. It's very tiny and hard to read, especially for older eyes. But this is a card, right? This is a membership card. It's not a business card. Sometimes the details matter. Another thing we'll have a little chat about are something new in the household. The Boles.tv household. When you wear masks at work or out and about in the world, sometimes you need to eat and drink, right? And it can be a challenge, especially with these N95 masks, because they're very tight on your face. They have straps that go around your head. They're very tight. They suffocate you and you can't breathe. So, and if you take them on and off and put them down and pull them up and pull them down, pull them up, to eat or to drink, the rubber band straps have a tendency to snap off and break. And then you're out of luck. If it pulls off your mask, you can kind of glue it back on and you'll be okay. But if it breaks on the strap itself, you just kind of have to throw it away because it's not being held tightly against your face any longer. So Jan and I were trying to figure out what can we do when we're out in public or in the office wearing masks with other people, and there's Omicron that's really going around a lot still. But you wanted to have a little drink of something. Something hot, something cold. Well, my friend. We figured out that a straw would work really well. You just put up the corner of your mask. Don't mess with the straps. Put a little straw in there. Drink. Put it down. The problem is, especially in New York and New Jersey, these plastic straws are being outlawed. Because they're wasteful. They kill animals. I think animals eat them and swallow the straws and die. Okay, that's all good. And we had a couple of old Dunkin' Donuts straws, the big long ones that were really fabulous. But we use them and now they're gone. So then you go online and you get smart and you think, hey, what are people using instead of plastic straws? Well, they're using reusable straws, and many of them are made from stainless steel. Boink. Here's one. This is a straight straw, and these tips come on and off. And then you drink. So you pull up your mask. And you clean them with this. It comes with a brush because you know it's going to be filthy. So you go in there and go, and you clean your straw when you're done with it. And they have a variety of tips. This is very soft rubber tip. Okay, that's one. Here's another one. These all come in the same pack. That's just a little bit short hair. The green one. Straight, right? Neat. Huh? Love that. Well, you can also go bent. Now, that's better, I think, if you're masking with a straw. You need a straw to put it in there. They're like this. Mask is here. Sliding it up. Drink. And another size, also, of the bent straw. I always loved a bent straw for some reason. I think they're more convenient. And growing up as a kid, they were fun because you could take the plastic straws that bent and make them make sounds and make kazoos out of them. It was really wonderful. So here's how these look with the bent straw family of stainless steel straws. So you do kind of worry, maybe, a little bit about bacteria. But as long as you clean them every day, or you know, I think we've got like 20 of these. They were $7 online. Fabulous. And as long as you keep them clean and keep the tip clean, you should be okay. And you'll save the environment, and you'll save your health, and you'll save your N95 mask. Small wonders, right? And speaking of masks, very important topic. I think I briefly glimpsed this to you during our previous segment, but I'll show it to you again. Maybe a week or two ago, we talked about this. That these are the N95 masks that the state of New York sent to teachers to protect them from coronavirus and Omicron. These are the N95 masks the state of New York distributed to our local teachers. They look like they were bought off effing Wish. Wish is a website. Maybe it's good you didn't get the masks they were going to supply. So N95 masks are supposed to be very tight against your face, create a seal. These loops that I guess go over your ears aren't even tight. I don't understand what's happening or how anyone can think that that's an acceptable mask, because it is not. Well, to continue that story, I'm going to show you two other masks that were sent by a state health department to their workers. And you're supposed to use these, I guess, for a week, and then you use them for a week, and then the next week you get a new one. Or maybe they make you wait 2 weeks. I don't know. But here's the first one. And these are supposed to be high-quality N95 masks. Fluid Shield, level 3. Okay? It looks like a period pad. It's pink. You really maybe can't see that, but it's pink. It's a pink color. And it looks like a period pad. Small size, NIOSH, small. Is it N95? Does it say N95? No. Maybe it's ASTM level 3? I don't know. But, looking a little sexual, you open the pink pad, and there are the things that go on. So I guess, and these are very, very flimsy. These are not good rubber bands like the ones I showed you that we got from Shawmut. And so this, I guess, goes over your mask like this. Okay, how do you do? Okay, let's see. We'll see if we can do this. I'll take off my headphones. So we go like this, under, and then this goes over your head. I have a giant head, so it's probably not fair that I do this. And then the other one goes in here. Now this is small, I probably need a large. Okay. And then form it on your nose. And I'm wearing a pink pad on my beautiful, ugly monster face. Welcome to New York! The seal is not great, and this is very small. I don't know if this would last all day or not. I think the bottom one's supposed to be under my face, right? Like this. Maybe? Yeah. Like that. That's how you're supposed to wear it. So you have tension on two parts. But now this whole thing's going to fly apart as I take it off. I wouldn't use this for one day. Now here's the other one. This is the other N95 mask. The elastic is maybe slightly better. Not great, but a little bit better than the other one. Okay, made in China, clearly. Does it say N95 anywhere on the mask? No. Is the mask 2 years old? Yes. Are these masks supposed to be good for like a year? Yes. Does it say 3M on there? Yes. Does 3M make masks in China? I don't know. There's the metal thing. This is what it looks like on the inside. Now, do you see something that's wrong right off? They have the nose barrier protector here, but do you see these? I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Those are staples. These are supposed to be puncture-free masks. N95 masks. Puncture-free masks. And they have staples in them. So I guess it goes like this. Over your head and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. This goes here. This goes back. Pull it down. Make it tight. Would I trust this in an environment in a work office? No, I would not. Why? Staples. Staples. This is not, it's not secure. Air can get in and get out through the holes that the staples make. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 holes in this mask. Created by Staples. And we're not talking about the office products company, we're talking about actual messing up the do metal staples. So that's government at work for you. Not really helping you at all. I guess it's just what they call security theater. And I admit it's just slightly disappointing. And finally, I want to talk to you just very briefly about something I stumbled over the weekend. And it's this issue of washing your behind when you take a shower. There was this guy in this group posting this message saying, hey, when I take a shower, I lather up my hands and I lather up my butt cheeks. And I wash vigorously my behind and my anus and my taint, he called it, and my testicles and my penis. And I wash it really good. He said, but I was at the gym the other day, washing myself up, and people in the shower with me who were watching, I don't know why, they said, why are you washing your butt? That's disgusting. And the guy thought for a minute, like, wait a minute, are you not supposed to wash your butt? Is it unhealthy? What happened? So I came online in this exercise group and said, hey, am I crazy here, or is washing my butt not done? And some people said, what are you talking about? Of course you vigorously wipe all those parts of your body. As do I. I mean, Jan and I, we are vegetarian, vegan. We eat a lot of good food, and it comes out of us very quickly. So if you would never wash that area, it would become crusty and fudgy and awful. They call it mud butt. And some people said, oh no, that's disgusting. And then one person who was a massage therapist said, you would not believe how many people, successful people, people with money, that I massage. And when they flip over on their stomachs and I'm massaging their back and backside and their legs, you can tell they have never washed their butt crack in their entire lives. The smell is wretched. And she doesn't say anything because it's their choice, it's their personal hygiene. So she takes a thick towel and puts it right over the smell and holds her nose and gets on with it. And then there were other people in the group saying, oh no, I never wash that. That's a dirty place. I would never touch that with my hand. What's wrong with you? I use toilet paper when I go to the bathroom, but that's clean enough. But after a while, the general consensus seemed to be yes. You always wash your private parts. You always wash your butt crack and what's inside of it with soap and water, whether you're bathing or taking a shower. And you can't really blame people because some people don't know. Like there are some women who go to the bathroom, number 2, and sit on a toilet and wipe back to front, bringing the tissue front towards their vagina. They were never taught, they don't know that you wipe away, backward, not frontward, when you're wiping the poop from your butt. And there are women who don't know that. Nobody taught them. It's more convenient for them to go back and wipe to the front, and then they get infections and contaminations from the poop that's near their vagina. And you can't laugh at people. You can't blame them for it. You can't point your finger and say, oh my God, you're so dumb, you didn't know. How can you get mad at somebody who doesn't know something? Now, if they know and they're educated, and then they make the conscious choice to have a mud butt or to wipe the wrong way, backward to forward, if you're a woman sitting on the toilet, well, then that's sort of an issue. But if you don't know better, if you never learned it right, if your parents didn't teach you to wash your bum, well, then sometimes we need to help people understand the right way to go. And you don't get there by yelling at them or making fun of them. You do it by just gently having a conversation. And that's what that guy did. He said, oh gosh, am I doing this wrong? Am I soaping up my private parts in the shower? He really didn't know. He thought he was doing it right, but the way the people were talking to him in the shower, he thought he was doing it all wrong. We live in a fascinating world, and we're going to continue to dig into it after this very brief blood pressure break. Back in a moment. We are back from break. Nice to see you. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv. We are with you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Jana Marie is with you on the weekends, 11 a.m. Happy to say hello. If you'd like to get in touch, you can email me, david@boles.tv. If you have a question for Jana about disability or American Sign Language, you can find her, Jana@boles.tv. And now we're going to head into a terrible and sad conversation about human trafficking. Now, human trafficking is very interesting because this is Human Trafficking Month, Awareness Month, I guess, in America. And just as a sideline, in American Sign Language, you see some interpreters, when they talk about human trafficking, they sign it like this: people, human, trafficking. Now, this, I do not believe, is the right sign, because this means like traffic, cars in traffic. That's not what human trafficking means. Human trafficking is about people selling. Not this trafficking, it's this selling. People selling. Selling people. That is human trafficking. And it's a big problem. Human trafficking is the fastest growing criminal industry in the world. According to the International Labor Organization, forced labor generates profits of $150 billion worldwide. In the U.S., the Urban Institute estimates that the commercial sex trade in several major cities range from $39 million to $290 million annually. Most victims are young females, but adults and those under the age of 18, boys, men, and gender minorities can also be victims of human trafficking. What these facts don't tell us is that the toll borne by the victims, many of whom are physically and sexually abused, not allowed access to money or identification documents, and who lack knowledge about their whereabouts. Almost 2 years after an underage victim was rescued, 10 people charged with human trafficking have been indicted by a Fulton County grand jury, Georgia Attorney General Chris Carr's office announced on Thursday. Among the 10, Stephen Stone was indicted on 3 counts of human trafficking after he kept, transported, and financially benefited from the sexual servitude of the minor. The other 9 defendants were indicted on charges of trafficking by solicitation on January 13. With each indictment and arrest, a criminal is removed from our streets, and victims are freed from being enslaved in a life of servitude. The indictments stem from Operation Not Forgotten 2020, during which 26 children were rescued, 13 were safely located, and 9 people were arrested. During the operation, the underage victim involved in the indictment was rescued. Excuse me. Hard to read. It's so depressing. Branding. The branding of people, of human beings, like cattle. Branding began thousands of years ago when farmers started branding their cattle by imprinting symbols to stand out from other livestock and to signify ownership. Unfortunately, this same practice is currently being used on human beings that fall victim to human trafficking. I remember receiving my tattoo branding and my trafficker telling me that if I ever try to leave, he will cut it off. After numerous years of being trafficked, I was finally recovered by law enforcement and offered services to keep me safe and free from my trafficker. While I got to keep my leg, I was still reminded of my trafficker every day because of my branding. And this is in Louisiana, by the way. So I was given the opportunity to have my brand covered up. And after searching for the right one, I decided on the koi fish tattoo. The tattoo means perseverance in adversity and symbolizes the struggles I have overcome in my life. During the time of getting the cover-up, I faced many trials where it felt like giving up while awaiting the court trial of my trafficker. I chose to have the koi fish swimming upstream to symbolize I was going through trials and facing them boldly, at time to remind me not to give up. No human should ever be treated as cattle, and therefore we need to shed light on tattoos because traffickers are using them to show ownership of their victims. Here are some signs of people who are being trafficked. Maybe you know some of them. Maybe you've seen this sort of behavior. You just never know. It seems to be everywhere in America and across the world. The person is disoriented, confused, or showing signs of mental or physical abuse. The person cannot freely contact friends or family. The person is fearful, timid, overly submissive. The person was forced to perform commercial sexual acts. There is evidence of a sexually explicit online advertisement. And a lot of the human trafficking, these are prostitutes and pimps. That's mainly where you're seeing this. The person was recruited for a job but was forced to engage in work without compensation. The person does not have freedom of movement. The person lacks personal possessions, such as identification or money, and appears not to have a stable living situation. The person is often in the company of someone to whom he or she defers to speak on his or her behalf. The person is closely monitored at all times. Warning signs. I bet you know a couple people who say, oh gosh. Then what do you do about it? Talk to them, report them to the police. And here's the koi fish that we discussed, the cover-up tattoo from the brand, the Human Trafficking Prevention Resource Center of Louisiana. They use the koi fish as part of this effort. The Human Trafficking Prevention Resource Center of Louisiana is an initiative of the governor's office. The Human Trafficking Resource Center is a web-based statewide directory that provides victims and survivors, stakeholders, and the public with basic information about human trafficking, survivor services, prevention resources, and educational materials on how to report suspicious activity. And that isn't all. COVID-19 and the restrictions that it places on the movement of people should have put a major dent in the illegal trade of human trafficking. But human traffickers have been finding ways to get around the hurdles created by the virus. This one happens to be in Jamaica. This idea was divulged by some of the speakers at the International Organization of Migration's artworks. Human traffickers have quickly changed their modus operandi, and there is now an increase in virtual exploitation. The internet is now being used more than ever to carry out human trafficking activities. She said the world is changing rapidly and young people are speaking a different language. and that their passion for change, for experiencing new things and taking what some might see as risks, increase their vulnerabilities. Thus, our efforts to raise awareness must also reflect this new reality. There must be campaigns to bring about awareness, and in order to reach the youths, we must now speak their language. So human trafficking, it's out there. It's a terrible thing. And that leads us directly into our next conversation about transactional sex. About a fifth of young sexual minority males and transgender females are estimated to be engaging in transactional or survival sex. Now, human trafficking, transactional sex, it sort of has the flavor of being the same thing. According to results of a new survey by Johns Hopkins, the findings, which define the practice as trading sex for money, housing, and other necessities like food and clothing, were recently published. The findings affirm that transactional sex may place young Black and Latinx gay or bisexual males and transgender females at risk for exposure to HIV. So this idea of this transactional sex is not necessarily about human trafficking, but more about protection from HIV. Previous studies have focused on transactional sex among gay or bisexual males and transgender females, but few have tried to understand the prevalence among Black and Latinx youth in these groups. So this is what this effort to try to figure out what's going on and why it's going on. From August 2017 and January 2021, researchers surveyed 454 teenagers and young adults who are Black or Latinx. Most identified as gay or bisexual, 385. 65 identified as transgender women, 389 identified as men. All were subjects between the ages of 15 and 24 and lived in Baltimore, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., or St. Peter's, Tampa. Those are all urban locations that have high rates of HIV and unstable housing among youth. Participants were recruited through peers, advertisements on web pages, and in social media, and flyers at clinical sites serving lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth, community-based organizations and events. The study included a 45-minute baseline web-based survey and HIV testing. The average age of the participants was 21, and 15% of the participants identified as transgender. In addition to questions about their gender identity, experiences of sexual violence, substance abuse, and financial well-being, participants were also asked, have you ever had sex with a male in exchange for money, a place to stay, or food? Some 22%, more than 1 in 5, responded engaging in transactional survival sex. Among survey participants with HIV, 32% reported survival sex experiences. Researchers say a positive response to the question about transactional sex was associated with transgender identity, unstable housing in the previous 12 months, poorer perceived financial well-being, coerced sex and marijuana use. Youth and young adults who had a job were less likely to be engaged in transactional sex. A lot of people who identify as a sexual minority, men or transgender women, are vulnerable and may not be accepted in their own personal environments or families. They are often displaced, and they don't have a place to stay, which puts them at risk for transactional or survival sex and the threat of HIV. In addition, the researchers found that transactional sex was associated with substance use disorder. In particular, alcohol or marijuana may be a way of coping with engaging in transactional sex or not having a place to live. More than 25% of all participants who reported using substances engaged in transactional sex, with 31% of tobacco users, 27% of marijuana users, and 26% of alcohol users reporting transactional sex. Marijuana was associated with transactional sex among young sexual minority men, while alcohol was associated with transactional sex among youth living with HIV. For now, parents and others involved with sexual and gender minority youth should screen them for vulnerabilities and other health inequities, and link them to information about preventing sexually transmitted infections, including HIV. Healthcare providers can encourage the use of condoms and pre-exposure prophylaxis medication, which can prevent HIV transmission. Parents should also talk with their adolescents and create a safe environment that accepts them, even if they don't agree with or understand aspects of their sexual or gender identity. The goal is to help those at risk understand that they are not alone, and that resources to help them are available from health professionals, community organizations, and elsewhere. It's a rough story. Transactional sex. Is it that different from human trafficking? Well, your mom and dad kicked you out of your house because you're gay or transgender. So you can come over here, stay with me. But if you want to sleep, and if you want to eat, this person says you're going to have sex with them. That is human trafficking to me. Maybe you're not selling the person to someone else, you're just keeping them for yourself. But if you're paying for everything, and they have no freedom, and they're at risk for HIV, as you are, how is that any different? Transactional sex, human trafficking, the horrible twins of the human condition. And on that note, we're going to take a very brief break. We will be back momentarily. And we are once again back from break. I'm David Boles, and this is Boles.tv. BOLES.TV. We are with you Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern, here for your ongoing satisfaction and complete search for joy. It's been a heavy show today. Boy, we talked about these white power signs that are being stolen from mainstream culture. Talked about human trafficking. Talked about transactional sex. Talked about massage therapists complaining that people aren't wiping the poop out of their butts. And now we're going to finish with a really heavy story. And it's heavy. Heavy! Do you know that in America, you can still force the sterilization of people? This is part of our eugenics conversation that we had last Friday, but it's a continuation to the next extreme of eugenics, which is sterilization. That means fixing someone's body so they cannot reproduce. They cannot have children because they are inferior. That's the idea behind eugenics and behind this specific forced sexual sterilization. More than 30 states in the United States of America explicitly still allow the forced sterilization of disabled people. And more than a dozen states allow it on disabled children, according to the report. Forced sterilization laws are not an aberration. They are part of a larger, horrifying system that prevents disabled people from making basic decisions about their lives, their families, and their future. 31 states, plus Washington, D.C., have laws explicitly allowing the forced sterilization of disabled people. More recently passed in 2019 in Iowa and Nevada. 17 states allow forced sterilization on disabled children. Only 3 states explicitly prohibit it on disabled children. 11 states and Washington, D.C. do not have specific language on minors. And throughout history, U.S. history, disabled Black, Native American, Mexican, Chicanx, Japanese, and Puerto Rican people with uteruses have disproportionately been forcibly sterilized. The report also found that these laws mostly cause harm to people with developmental and intellectual disabilities and/or disabilities related to mental health. Forced sterilization was deemed constitutional, as we discussed last week, in the infamous 1927 Supreme Court decision, Buck versus Bell, after which forced sterilizations increased dramatically to at least 60,000 forced sterilizations in 32 states. And while some state laws have changed, it's still constitutional and still going on today, with at least 5 cases of women in ICE custody in Georgia in 2019. While thousands of victims await restitution, as reports from The Conversation. All of this has been documented. During the height of this wave of eugenics, by means of sterilization in the United States, forced hysterectomies were so common in the Deep South that activist Fannie Lou Hamer coined the term Mississippi appendectomy to describe them. Here's the story of Kelly Dillon. She was a California prison inmate in 2001 when she underwent a procedure to remove a potentially cancerous growth. And the surgeon simultaneously performed an unauthorized hysterectomy. One of 148 forced sterilizations that year in California prisons, and one of 1,400 carried out between the years 1997 and 2010. All forced sterilization campaigns, regardless of their time or place, have one thing in common. They involve dehumanizing a particular subset of the population deemed less worthy of reproduction and family formation. Our interdisciplinary team explores the history of eugenics and sterilization in the U.S. using data and stories. 35 of them so far captured from historical records from North Carolina, California, Iowa, and Michigan. That coming from Andrea Minna Stern. The history was more complicated than one might expect, Stern explained. At first, sterilization programs targeted white men, expanding by the 1920s to affect the same number of women as men. The laws have used broad and ever-changing disability labels like feeble-mindedness and mental defective. Over time, women and people of color increasingly became the target as eugenics amplified sexism and racism. It is no coincidence that sterilization rates for black women rose as desegregation got underway. The history of eugenics has been thoroughly researched and criticized by scholars and human rights activists, but coverage by the corporate media, the mainstream media in the United States, the practice of forced sterilization throughout the 20th century and the 21st century has tended to be limited and narrowly focused. There was some corporate news coverage after the ICE forced sterilization stories emerged, but generally without any mention of the activists resisting the practice. Some establishment press articles on the topic, forced sterilization, include comments from members of these organizations to provide context on the issue, but few spotlight the group's tireless organizing and record of accomplishments. And here's the report. I will put it right here in chat for you. National Women's Law Center. National Women's Law Center report on the forced sterilization of disabled people in the United States of America. Just shocking. And it's a wonderful report in that it is unforgiving and it is very specific. Here's part 2. I'll put that in chat as well. Notes about the report. We wrote this report in plain language. Plain language is a style that is more acceptable to many people, and that's very smart, actually. These include some people with intellectual disabilities. First identity language, what to expect in this report. It's very detailed and very disturbing. And it's frozen up on me. Let me see if I can get this unfrozen here, just so I can take you a little bit lower down, if it's possible. Forced sterilization laws in each state and territory. If there's a plus sign, forced sterilization is allowed. 31 states plus Washington, D.C. I'll put this in links. I'll put this in part 3 too. The states. Part 3, the states. You look up your favorite state. Okay, there's a red X. Forced sterilization is banned. So here we go. Alabama, we don't know. Alaska, banned. Arizona, we don't know. Arkansas, California, Colorado, allowed. Nebraska, other. No specific law on forced sterilizations. New York, New Jersey, allowed. North Carolina, banned. Shocking. Washington State, sure. Washington, D.C., yes, allowed. Wyoming, allowed. So where's it banned? Let's just look. The states have banned the forced sterilization of disabled people. North Carolina. And Alaska. That's it. That is your world in which we spin unconsciously at times. And the forced sterilization of children is just absolutely alarming. So today's show goes back into what kind of world do you want to have? What kind of life do you want to live? Do you want one where children and disabled people are sterilized against their will just because they're in custody or they are wards of the state and someone other than them thinks that they know better than them? Do you want human trafficking, where people are sold for the sex trade? Do you want transactional sex, where young kids, abandoned by their parents and their friends, go on the street looking for companionship and help? And there are predators out there who will say, hey, sure, come on over here. Are you hungry? Can I buy you something? And when you're done eating, we're going to go have sex. That's what they say to these kids. That's the price for me to feed you and clothe you and give you a place to stay. And Penn Station in New York City is really, really famous in a bad way for this human trafficking, where these men go and watch the buses that come in all day and all night from all across the country with young kids looking to come to New York City to find their love and their success. And these kids often have not a plan. They don't have any money. And like you go on Broadway and you see a singer and you're sitting there in awe and you're thinking, my gosh, what a talent. How can someone sing that beautifully? It's also true for the criminal element in the city. There are very, very, very talented corruptors, pimps, human traffickers who are charming and well-dressed, and they have a lot of money. And they know exactly how to speak to these young people who came to New York looking for their dream and wish fulfillment. And they convince them. And they get them hooked on drugs, and maybe hooked on the money, and if they misbehave, they get beaten. And once you're into it, it's very hard to get out of it. Well, we had a lovely conversation today. I thank you so much for being here. We will be here again tomorrow, 9 a.m., as we are so far, every weekday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Jan Marie will be here on Friday at 10 a.m. to give a little lesson in American Sign Language. A little bit earlier than usual. Usually it's 10:15, now it's 10 o'clock. And she'll be with you on Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, as she has a conversation with you about American Sign Language and the rights of the disabled and helping disabled people find jobs. It's good stuff. If you'd like to find me online, hey, go to Twitter, @David Boles. You can find me on Facebook, Boles. YouTube, we are Boles Blues, but easiest way to get there and read and find our video on demand that is closed captioned, Boles, BOLES.live.LIVE. On TikTok, we are Boles TV. And on Discord, we are just plain David Boles is the name of our server. Instagram, we are Boles Books. I thank you for being here. I wish you all the joy in the world. And tomorrow will be a better day, because today we talked about things that we need to fix and understand and accept and perhaps deal with before another day breaks. I'll see you tomorrow.